What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are driving a 2006 Lexus IS350. We have my buddy Logan here with us. You may remember him from the EP3 video. You've now since sold that car.
Yep.
And traded it for something different, which we'll see on the channel later. But tell us a little bit about this car. This is your new daily.
It's a 2006 Lexus IS350. I got it for $4,500. 305 horsepower, rear-wheel drive. It's got paddle shifters and pretty sporty for 2006.
Yeah, I've driven this around a little bit, and I think the paddle shifters and this transmission, it's a nice addition to the car. So let's go ahead and hop on the road and go for a drive. We did also forget to mention there is a bit of an exhaust on here that somebody cloned to look like stock. Cat delete and some kind of muffler. We have no idea, but it seems to sound good. So we're starting in sport mode. Some initial impressions. It does feel a little bit floaty. The steering has a little bit of dead on center, but once it catches very nicely. The ride is pretty supple and there's not a ton of wind noise. It feels pretty nice in here. I mean, this was a luxury car. So we'll hit the pedal now. Go to third. It's got gobs of torque. This thing is not a slouch. How long have you owned this for, Logan?
Since April of this year. Yeah, there's a deer.
Hello, sir.
Good old Kentucky back roads. That's why I got good brakes.
Yeah, the brakes in this thing are absolutely nuts. The front calipers are 4-piston. Okay, that's not cool, sir. Why are you doing that? Don't cross double yellows. Yeah, gobs of torque, 305 horsepower. So this is one of the fastest cars you've ever owned, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll do 0 to 60 in pretty quick. Online, they say about 4.5 seconds.
Holy smokes. I thought it was in the 5s.
It might be, I might have that backwards. It might be 5.5 seconds.
I thought it was about 5.5.
Yeah, I think so. We can always test it.
That's still very quick. Oh yeah, once we get to a flatter stretch of road, we'll test that out. Handles the elevation change very nicely.
Pedals are a little sluggish, but still engaging enough to it lets you redline it, and it lets you just flat out pedal it while also not taking away the drivability of an automatic.
Exactly. You could compare to a modern car, it's not quite as good, but for 2006, this is basically as good as it got for a car that wasn't a straight up sports car. I also like how the clusters light up. It looks very cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can change that too. It'll light up at 70 miles an hour right now, but it's just a couple buttons and you can get it to light up at 80 or 90 yellow, and then it'll light up red 20 miles an hour past the yellow light. It sucks down fuel. It has both port fuel injection and direct fuel injection. So it's spraying fuel into the intake manifold and straight into the cylinders.
So that is 2 injectors per cylinder?
Yep.
Ooh, yeah, so 12 injectors, V6.
That's part of the reason why I got this car so cheap, was because the previous owner put a cheap aftermarket fuel pump in it, and it just couldn't handle with all the fuel that the engine was asking for, so it cut out after like 4,000 RPMs. I went and bought a $50 used fuel pump, and this thing has ran like a champ since.
Yeah, we have 205,000 miles on here, so she's been well used and well loved. There's an aftermarket paint job, some headlights, taillights, you know, somebody had their way with this car. But it's a Toyota, and because it's a Toyota, it still drives probably close to as good as it did in day one. Although somebody, for some reason, they glued the Lexus badge on the front end backwards, or upside down.
Drives me nuts, but if I try and pull it off, it'll break.
Classic. Gotta love cars that have been messed with. Actually, the downshifts almost feel like it's almost as if somebody was driving manual transmission that didn't really know how to rev match yet, and they just let out the clutch. That's kind of how the downshifts are.
Yeah, it's pretty accurate.
It's not terrible, but
it's pretty jerky.
Yeah, it's a little jerky. But you get a gear counter, and it's really nice, and you can make it go into 5th and 6th, and you could sort of drive this in manual mode, no problem. Lights got dimmer. That was very interesting.
It's because the automatic light detection. It'll turn the headlights on, so it thinks it's nighttime. So it dims the dash.
Interesting. Can we make the dash brighter again?
Just turn off the auto headlight. Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
So we get some nice exhaust noise in here. Oh, those brakes are good. It's got a fair amount of front end plow when you really get into the brakes like that, but you expect that from a car like this. If I jab the brake right now. Yup. Very soft suspension, but that's okay. We like soft suspension on the road car because on a road car, it makes it ride really well. And on some of those roads back there were some rough patches, but it didn't really matter. The car just kind of soaks it up and it handles it really nicely. This car's very well set up for a daily driver. Very comfortable, and there is a fair amount of body roll, but if we do one of these, it still grips up nicely. We are also on some nice Michelin Pilot Sport all seasons, correct?
Yep.
Yes, and the tires on this thing are meaty. We have 255s in the rear and 225s in the front. So it is going to be inclined to understeer, but those 255s in the rear really keep the rear end in check on this car. That's crazy. That's a stock tire sizing.
Yeah, like you were saying about the tires being meaty, part of the reason why I chose this car is because I prefer to stay stuck to the ground and not break traction, because I've been upside down in a car before.
Oh, yeah.
It's not fun. And I drive like this just about every day. So I like being able to trust in my wheels and make sure I'm not going to fly off the road.
Tires are the most important thing to spend your money on. Tires improve grip, braking, all of that. I do like this exhaust they have on here. It sounds a little trumpety, but it's not too bad, and it's nowhere near VQ levels.
Yeah, part of the reason why it sounds that way is just because the muffler shop they took it to didn't exactly use all the same piping the whole way through. And so it goes from the headers to a smaller pipe, and to the rest of the exhaust, which is a larger pipe, and then out to the mufflers, which is a smaller pipe, and then the mufflers are jankily beat down to fit the right size. And then they just chop the tips off the stock exhaust and then welded them straight onto these smaller mufflers.
Yeah, the exhaust has been thoroughly messed with. Cheap boogies.
Now we got the video of 0 to 60. Just have to look at the timestamp.
That was a slight roll to 60. Well, yeah, I was rolling slightly, and it was also an uphill, so maybe it counteracts itself. Oh my god, look at all that elevation change.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom.
This is where that squishy suspension comes in handy.
Exactly, it soaks it up nicely. Oh, Kentucky's so pretty. we'll say this is comparable to the E90 3 Series at the time, and comparing this to like an 06 3 Series, I would say this is a little less sporty feeling. It's not quite as sharp, quite as responsive. And it's funny, we actually just drove a 3 Series actually, just like it. It was a 328i. It was a stick, but same car basically, also stock. This is less responsive than that car, but I think it's a little softer, a little more luxury oriented, and the transmission is definitely a little slower than BMW's automatics. Because BMW kind of went for full sport, whereas this was sort of a middle ground between Mercedes, which is really soft, and BMW, which is sporty. Just cool. Lexus has always kind of fallen into that middle ground. It's nice. So if you wanted something sporty, but also something that still had sort of that Mercedes-esque feel and ride, you could get a Lexus. Of course, the interior, I would say, is not quite as nice. This foam did not age very well, the dash foam, unfortunately. But, live with these things.
Anywhere that has frequent contact, like around the engine start stop button, it's all got some pretty heavy wear. Falls apart pretty easily. If it's a hot day, sometimes the foam will stain your fingers. But you can always just get something like this and hide it.
Exactly. Third gear is such a nice gear for these roads. Wait, so it actually beeps at you?
Yeah.
Can I try it?
Yeah.
Beep, 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 beep.
I actually only found that out the other day when I tried doing it.
Oh, you're not nice to this car.
No. It's a Toyota. This is the perfect car if you want something that's fast, reliable, and looks good on the outside.
Yeah, this is a really nice looking car. I mean, this car's been repainted in like kind of an okay-ish paint job. I've seen worse, but it's not as quite as good as factory. They could have done more after paint prep work to kind of bring it out. Bring more clarity, I'll get rid of some orange field, but putting that aside, it still looks really modern. For an 06, it's a very nice car.
It's got total keyless entry. I don't ever take the keys out of my pocket. I believe right now the keys are in my pocket. And all I have to do is be in the car. It won't let me lock the keys in the car. It'll beep at me very loud and annoyingly if I have the keys in the car.
Yeah, exactly.
Press the door button to lock it. All I have to do to unlock it is just reach for the handle and put my hand around the handle, and it unlocks on its own. It's got a lot of advanced features for 2006.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. Amazing brakes, dude.
Yeah. See, I'm not nervous one bit because I know this car has the braking and the grip to stand up to whatever you throw at it.
It does.
As long as it don't go 100 miles an hour around a bumpy back road turn. Then
yeah, if you're not a total moron, this car is gonna pull you out of whatever situation you put yourself in.
Yeah.
We have finished our test drive of the 2006 Lexus IS350, and it was a lot of fun. Honestly, I enjoyed this car. High points, very fast engine, very good brakes, and the car is reasonably responsive. A little bit down center in the steering, and it doesn't have super good feel, but it's also hard to tell with the steering wheel cover. But the car handles pretty well, especially for a stock luxury car from almost 20 years ago. Paddle shifters, I would say, are a medium point. It's nice that you get them, but they are a little bit slow. But outside of that, it's a pretty solid package. Thanks for coming on the channel, Logan. It's a solid daily driver.
definitely been reliable and fun and sporty. It was exactly what I was looking for in a car.
So with that, let's go ahead and give the Lexus IS350 a score. The 2006 Lexus IS350 scores here on our list. It scores slightly lower than the BMW 328i we drove last week. They are very similar cars from a similar era. The cost about the same. The Lexus has 300 horsepower and is easier to live with. However, the driver inputs are slightly duller than the BMW 3 Series, and the added manual factor makes the BMW a little bit cooler and a little more engaging. Should you buy it? The Lexus IS350 was Lexus's second shot at the compact sports sedan market, which at the time was the E90 BMW 3 Series and the Infiniti G35. I don't think they quite hit the fun target of those two cars, but it is more connected than Mercedes C300 of the same year. Lexus filled a gap between Mercedes and the other sportier rivals. Unlike the IS300 that came before it, Lexus came in with a 300 horsepower monster of an engine, which is more than anything BMW or Infiniti had in the segment in 2006. Almost 20 years later, and these cars are at their peak depreciation. You can pick a nice one up for $10,000 all day. This one only costs the owner $4,000. If you're looking at a Toyota Camry for the reliability, but want something a little classier that can perform, the IS350 is a great buy.